Hello, welcome back to Glad Reviews. This week we're going to review we watched the movie Elvis, which is based on Elvis Presley. Shocker, I know. I was a little bit skeptical about this movie just based on some of the trailers I had seen, and I honestly thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. There were definitely some problems I had with it, but as far as storytelling wise, I thought it was good. I thought it was very interesting in how they told the story. They definitely did not underestimate the intelligence of the audience, because the way it's told, you got to really think through exactly what goes on. And you know that the narrator of this is Colonel Parker, who kind of helped Elvis get his startup. And so it's very skewed in one direction in some ways. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. This is a movie I definitely won't mind seeing it again, but it's not one movie I'm going to go out of my way to go see again. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
I also thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'd probably also give it an 8 or a 9. I'm gonna give it an 8. The only reason I'm gonna not give it a 9 is because it was very long, and I get antsy in very long movies. And even though I know the director said there's like a 4-hour version that exists.
Okay, wait, there's a 4 hour? Because there were moments where I was like, oh, this part's too long. It's dragging a little bit.
Like the Snyder cut, like the Snyder cut, essentially.
I mean,
like
with the Snyder cut, with the Snyder cut, it and some parts it was a slow burn, but no, on this one it was very much so. Like some points were dragging, you could really tell.
Yeah, I mean, I bet there's more of Elvis's life that we just did not make it into the movie. So apparently it exists, but I get antsy in long movies. So acting was very well done. The directing was very well done. Very good did very good job at emotionally pulling you into the emotional moments, building up the hype for the big moments. It did a really good job at telling a real story in a theatric way.
All right, Zach.
I did not enjoy this movie.
Wow, shocker.
Not really.
Usually it's me or Andrew. This time it's you. This is like one of the first. Mom, grab the camera. And Zach disagreed with both of us. It's usually the other way around. It's usually me or Andrew that disagrees with the majority, not usually you. I want to hear about this one.
Yeah. First off, I'm not a big Elvis fan. I could care less about him. I really could. So that destroyed the movie for me in the first place. I just don't really care. To me, it was like a documentary, and I hate documentaries. So this whole movie just destroyed me. So I was like, I'm not even sure what I'm watching at times. It just wasn't my type of film. I'm not saying it was a bad film, but it just wasn't my type of film. I did not personally enjoy it because it's not something I would enjoy sitting through. And it was really long. The first 30 minutes, I was like, dang, I still have 2 hours left.
That's how I felt about the Stranger Things finale.
That's just how this movie made me feel. With that being said, personally, putting my personal rating on it and then putting the rating I think the movie's at, I'll give you both of those. My personal rating is a 3 because I just didn't like it. But the rating I'll give it, unbiased, I'll give it like a 7. I think it was.
You recognize it's a good movie, you just didn't enjoy it.
I do. I just didn't enjoy it personally. So
that's fair.
You hate Elvis, man.
I don't hate Elvis.
I bet you bought one of those buttons.
I like his I enjoy his songs. There have been so many renditions of giving his past and everything, and all of them are different. None of them really match up completely.
I'm gonna be honest, this is the first one I've ever seen.
I will be honest too. This is the first one I've seen, but I have heard of other ones.
There's a lot of similarities, especially with the ending. Like some people say his death was because of the pills, because of love. Some people blame it on me.
Apparently his biopsy doesn't come out until 2027.
Elvis's
or his autopsy. The autopsy report. Sorry, the autopsy report is not public information until 2027.
Why is my question? I guess
I'll find out.
Usually that's relatively information, especially with it being such a big case, but why would it be held on to until 2027?
I have no idea.
Considering that he died in about 1977.
To keep the public asking questions of why and how. But I need to double check. I want to know just how, since it was told in the viewpoint of a specific specific person. I want to know, like, if I was expecting it to be kind of somewhat like a documentary where they would have like a lot of people's input to make a movie that is very close to how his life was, not just from one person's viewpoint, and especially his manager, who was a very shady individual in the first place. So I'm just not sure how accurate this film is.
From what I've seen on, which this isn't a good site to go check for
They mostly
accuracy,
just it. I was about
but
to say they
from what I've
mostly
seen on
just
Wikipedia, it seems to be somewhat accurate.
well,
It
yeah, but
wasn't just, from what I
was
read, it wasn't
really
just
paying
Colonel.
attention to with this film, they just hit major bullet points with his
Yeah,
life.
that's what it seemed like.
They didn't go in details. It was pretty much stuff everyone knew about. So I'm just like, I don't really know. Like, they did go into some personal details that I think could have been non-public, but I don't know.
So you know how when you Google something and it shows like the publication date,
Yeah.
like April 23rd, 2020 or whatever, when like the article was published, like next to the Google, like when the web page went online, I found one that says 1982.
For what?
It's an article talking about his autopsy. Basically, his father like sealed his dad legally sealed the autopsy for 50 years. I'm not able to find a reason.
There probably isn't a public reason as to why. He probably just didn't want it out there. If it was from overdose and everything, he probably didn't want it out there that this is the reason why he died.
Yeah, an
To be
autopsy was
honest,
carried out immediately, but it was sealed for 50 years by the family.
to be honest, though, I could see why they didn't want that on them, considering that this movie, especially with, I don't know how accurate it is, but especially with this movie showing that he was doing this more so to keep
He was
the
a
money
family
flowing in,
person. Yeah, for his
Uh,
parents.
considering that the colonel screwed him over, which you also see in the movie. And considering that this, like, just because of all the drugs and medication that he was taking just to get up on every show, and all the stuff that he was undergoing and doing, even without him completely getting home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And another thing that you could also take away from this, and I didn't think about it until later, like especially from a spiritual standpoint, was fame he pursued fame instead of family. And that ended up really hurting him, especially you saw in that limo ride. He was like, I'm about to be 40 and I'm not going to be remembered for anything. So I was just like,
biggest problem as to the reason why he pursued fame is because of Colonel. He was young. The Colonel was much older,
I know.
wiser, and had a very silver tongue.
Yeah.
And he just persuaded him. First off, took him away from his parents to persuade him so that they couldn't do any. I mean, the man was it as a con. I don't want to say a con man because he did.
I would say he
Elvis
was, because
famous,
he even references it like as a snowman. He's essentially a con man.
But he very good at what he did. But yeah,
I did hear that his family, who is still alive, they like really approved of this rendition, this telling, which is a good sign.
Another thing I don't know if it's as accurate or not is him pursuing girls left and right. Because from what I've heard from other people, that was the colonel's idea. But I don't know exactly, because I've heard it being like the colonel's idea for him to start like having affairs or something. I've heard it different ways, so I don't.
Yeah, they didn't give a specific reason as to why. All we know is that he did do it.
Yeah.
And
I would assume it'd be also to relieve the stress from him performing, having all this pressure on him, all the drugs and all that stuff. And that would be a way for him to relieve stress. And then that would especially be needed when his family leave him, as that was the only thing that really held him together, in a sense, when his wife and daughter left him.
Well, his wife and daughter left because of multiple reasons. And one of the biggest reasons was because he was cheating on her, and because he was being worked like a dog and had to take all this, well, didn't have to take, but was taking a lot of non-prescribed, probably.
Yeah, which is what I'm saying. It didn't help any either when she just left, is what I'm saying.
I think she had ample reason, but yeah,
I
no,
know
I
she
can
had an
see how
ample reason,
that didn't
but that
help
didn't
his mental
help. That
state.
didn't, I'm just saying it didn't help him at all. And
Yeah.
considering that his father really wasn't being as much of a father as he could have been, also wasn't helping either.
Hey, people got their fetishes.
So he worked for Nickelodeon?
No, he worked for Quentin Tarantino. But that's also a good one. That's also a good one. It took me a second. I did not. The joke went over my head for a second.
And then you were like, wait, I caught it. No, from what I read on another guy was like another thing that really didn't help him was was his friend group that was surrounding him as well. That was also giving him like the drugs and stuff. Cause one of the friends who really wasn't like joined later and didn't really care about his stuff had like spiritual kind of conversations with Presley about like just spiritual kind of stuff. And it's kind of seen in this movie as well, but not to the level that the guy was just saying, because he would give him spiritual books for him to read. And apparently he took those books almost everywhere. It seemed like
I
this guy
didn't.
was very, very convoluted and had a lot of different problems and a lot of different rumors going on around him. Heck, we don't even know about his death because the family sealed it up for 50 years. I guess most people would like to know to some extent how he died.
There's a lot of info out there or speculation about his past. Apparently, he ate himself away. Apparently, he was super constipated.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of stuff. He's taken a massive amount of pills. The doctor got his medical license revoked.
It's also the problem of, I think his name was Colonel Tom Parker, who was doing all this to him. And you kind of see it in the show, however, in the movie, in the movie. However, the interesting way that they did this was it was from his side of the story.
Yeah.
So you got to see it kind of from his perspective and mostly from him,
Yeah.
his like kind of narration of it. And besides the horrible casino CGI scenes, it was good. So
yeah, I liked how you got to see it from his viewpoint, because you got to see it how it wasn't, because he didn't blame himself really for what he did.
Not at all.
So you got to see it from that sort of viewpoint.
Yeah, and you really got, and you were throughout the whole thing, you know what's going to happen, and you're still rooting for Elvis to take this guy down at some point, because there are multiple points where he gets the courage to actually say you're fired, and then it ends up going sideways for him like a whole bunch of different times, to the point where he can't fire this guy because he's got a hold on him and his career. And by that point, he really can't get out of it, because the guy's taking 50% on top of he's charging what he was charging almost everything he was already getting 50% off of anyway. So there's really just a sinkhole. Quite frankly, all he has to do, all Elvis really has to do is just leave the country. That's all he really has to do, though. So I mean,
yeah, I didn't know much of Elvis before. I didn't know much of his music other than what has been put on, like Hound Dog and Can't Help Falling in Love. Like have never intentionally gone and listened to him. I grew up knowing some Elvis fans, never seen his movies. This gave me a new appreciation for the person of Elvis and like what he did for music and his impact on the world at the time. Kind of like the Beatles, never really listened to them, but I think I've seen things that have given me a good appreciation for what they've done.
One thing I will complain on, besides the horrible CGI casino bit, was some of the music choices. I thought those were a little weird. Just out of the blue, you got some of those weird music choices, and it was just it just pulled you out of the movie, and you were like, "Wait, what?"
Some of the choices,
some of them were really good.
Modern music.
Yeah. Some of them were really good. However, some of the ones that sounded way more modern than they should have been were kind of pulled you out of the movie of the mid 1900s kind of feel.
I don't think this has a Kronk.
I can't think of one either.
Too serious of a movie.
I'm gonna go with the pills.
All right, thank you all for watching. Tune in next time where we will be talking about Minions: Rise of Gru.
Yeah, see you next time on Galactic Reviews. All right.